Hi, this is Gabrielle from Be Wise Gardens. We had a million, not really a million, questions about gardening, which we're super excited about. And one of the really common ones was weeds, of course, because everybody wishes they didn't have weeds. But something to remember is that weeds are actually a vital part of the environment as well. And so and tons of them are actually edible or juiceable. Isabel and I took a class last year from a lady who has a restaurant in Durango, Colorado, and that's all they serve and use is weeds. And it was so enlightening and really cool because there's a ton of things, like obviously everybody knows dandelions, but I think the only thing she didn't juice was grass, which that tends to be a weed that people really want to get rid of. But I want to talk about 3 different kinds of weeding techniques that are super practical. So the first one is when you have weeds or grass that are growing in something that you don't really want to disturb. You don't want to get a shovel in there because then you have to do your edge or whatever. And so a tool like this is really awesome because you literally can just go in and under and pull that weed out without completely disrupting whether it's your bark or your mulch, and that's really a nice way to do that kind of weeding. Right next to it we have, this is a plant that's coming up through here, but it has grass mixed into it. Now if I do this, I will potentially damage the crown of the plant that's in there. So this kind of a plant, or this kind of a situation, I would use a shovel. I would dig the entire thing out, which I'm going to do. I'm not going to do it for the video, but I'll dig this plant out. I'll pop it out like it's from a pot, and I'll actually pull this grass completely out of. If you look really close, Isabel, you can see the plant budding right here, and it's a really cool plant, and I don't want it full of grass because this grass will just keep getting worse. So that's what I'm going to do with this one, is I'm going to dig it out and gently remove the rhizomes of the grass from that plant and replant it. You wouldn't want to do that in the heat of the summer. You would want to do that now or in the fall. And so our next type of weeding, follow me. Get yourself some knee pads if you're going to weed. So the next kind of weeding is we're going to do an area that has weeds in a big area that we got ready last year. And the soil actually came with the weeds. And so if you look close, we have just all of these weeds. I don't want to get down and pull each one of those individually. So there's this really awesome tool called a hula hoe. And how it's different than a regular hoe is that it works both ways. So you're not just going, you're in the ground. This only works with soil that is not compacted. It would be way too much work. If it's really trampled and hard, you'll probably break this tool because it's really for light soil. So you basically run it back and forth. It goes deep enough to cut the roots of these small, or even just completely pull them up, these little small weeds. And if you do this on a sunny day, they're now on the surface and they'll actually dry up. And if you feel like it, you can sift through it with your fingers and pick them all up, or you can just trust that they'll probably die and not reroot, and then your area is weeded. Next thing, go this way. So I have a little trick. Everything's super wet right now. So in these gloves, obviously you get saturated. It was super cold yesterday. So inside of my gloves is a heavyweight pair of the nylon gloves. And then I put those on, and then I put them inside of my work gloves. Especially works well with leather gloves because as they get wet, then you are like freezing and your hands are, muddy and all of that. This way they stay completely, they don't stay dry because you get sweaty, but they don't get cold. And then if the next level is put lotion on first, then put on the glove, and then you get a little like manicure while you're doing it. Next thing, this is agricultural vinegar. It is strong enough to kill most weeds, but sometimes it doesn't work, and I'll talk about that over here. Okay. So when you have weeds that are in between things, you can't get the knife. If I start tugging on this, I just break it off and it grows back. So if you use something like agricultural vinegar, you give it a super strong dose on the leaves, because the leaves then die and deliver it to the roots. And we can go along, and usually I would use a big, like, you know, one of the pump ones that you carry around, and you can just hit your things. You don't want to use this around your plants because it would also kill your plants. And so the next thing of weeding is, honestly, hire somebody to do it if you don't want to do it, because weeds are super annoying. They are. And if you want your landscape to look a certain way, you have to weed. And we pretty much do everything manually, and, you know, some chemicals. The last ditch thing that I will do, if there's a really established plant like this one, it actually has grass in it, it just hasn't come up through, I will use grass killer, the actual chemical grass killer that won't harm this plant, but it will kill the grass. And I do that really sparingly, and I do that only if it's like in peonies, iris, roses, things that you cannot get into, and things you don't want to dig up to pull out the weeds. So those are my tips about weeds.